I've forgotten how to stream this.
And a very good evening to you. Welcome to On the Grill. We are short one man at the moment, Mr. Corey Hopper, but hoping he'll be with us very shortly. My name is Shane Darwin, and I am joined tonight with the super talented broadcaster extraordinaire, Ashley Ball. Good evening, Ashley. How are you?
Yeah, very well, guys. Very well. Shane, hope the week's been good to you, mate. It's been a very, very cold one up in the Hunter, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has indeed. Yeah, bit of rain today as well. It's been a good weather to be indoors, and some days I sit here at my desk job and think, maybe I could be working outside. And then other days like today, I'm pretty comfortable. I work indoors.
No, I've mostly indoors myself today. It's just been one of those weeks, I think, where the weather doesn't want to turn it on too much for us, and let's just hope that any rain that does comes in the next day or so, so that we're right for the weekend, because nothing's worse than getting wet again and going through all those things that we went through in the first half of the season. I thought we were over that. I thought we squashed the wash out.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, the weather did turn it on Saturday when we were at number one, and the ground looked in great condition. It was good dry footy, and we're back there again this week. So obviously, pretty keen to make sure that the council don't go and close the game. So hopefully, a couple of showers here or there might help green up the grass, and anything more we can hopefully move on.
Yeah, any excuse we can give the council not to close the ground, we'd love that, because they've been very quick to do it in the past. So we'll hope that they can see their way fit to not doing so this weekend. I'm sure they'll be fine.
That's exactly right. Now, we are both pushed for time tonight, actually, so we better not dilly-dally too long. What do they say? A quick grill's a good grill. So let's get straight into it. We'll have a bit of a look at out last week. And, of course, I just mentioned we were at the number one Sportsground. And, it was good to be back there too. I've missed not being there for the first part of this season. And in the Women's Black Diamond Cup, we saw... Well, I loved it. It was an absolute cracker of a game. I think it delivered on all the potential it had pre the game, with the exception of we're expecting a high-scoring shootout, and we didn't get that. Instead, we saw a defensive arm wrestle. That's probably the best way I can describe it. Ashley, it was a great game. What did you think about that Black Diamond Cup game?
Yeah, look, I reckon it was a bit of a tale of two halves, to be perfectly honest. Killarney Vale got out of the blocks. They kicked the only 2 goals of the first quarter. They maintained a lead in the second quarter. I thought Newcastle were the better side in the second half, but they were unlucky to only kick 1 goal for the quarter instead of putting away some of their chances. And I thought maybe they could have been the victor at the end of the day. But the Bombers, they keep finding ways to win, and we do say the premiership sides know how to do it. But the only question we've got on this Killarney Vale women's team now, after 2 years of being very good, is can they win it in a big game in a final series? And that's the only question that's left on this squad. They've done it all year. They did it all year last year. They were undefeated. This year they've gone through so far, and they're on top of the ladder with only 1 loss to their name after 14 rounds. But there's only one query missing with this group. The Bomber girls, and can they do it on the big occasion? They've got to get to the big occasion first, but when they get there, can they hold their nerve?
Yeah, agreed. And one thing I thought from the weekend just gone was, you mentioned the second half, Newcastle City had the play, and certainly that third quarter they did. They looked really dominant, and you felt as though potentially coming out of the 3-quarter time break, they could run away with the game. But to Killarney Vale's credit, they did show that maturity, and they upped their tempo. They made a few positional changes, and they came out in that fourth quarter, and it wasn't like they kicked the bag of goals and ran away with it, but they did enough. They held off the tidal wave that was the City Blues coming through, and they won the game. So if they can translate that over into finals football, I think they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, look, one of the big key players I thought the key moves that was made by Brett Godfrey, the coach of Newcastle City on the weekend, was Sarah Helverson to centre half back in the second half. She dominated so much, and her class and experience shone through in the back half of the field. I was really impressed by Danielle Bishop from Newcastle City, also in the 40. I haven't seen a lot of her play, but what I saw on Saturday was very impressive. And Claudia Gray and Ayla Flynn also played great games for Newcastle. But the Bombers, we ended up giving the Bar Raiser Award to Sasha Edwards at the end of the day, the number 2. She played a terrific game all over the field. And I was really impressed by Brooke Turner and Kristen Kessler. But someone that was out to prove a point on the weekend, Shane, I reckon that was Nikita Carter. And she did so beautifully in the first half.
She did indeed. She had some white line fever the minute she stepped onto the ground and was everywhere. I don't know how many touches she had in the first 2 quarters, but it felt like she was all over the ball. In the forward line, the back line, laying the tackles, doing the in and under stuff. She was fantastic and probably a little unlucky not to get the bar raiser. It was almost toss of the coin stuff. She probably just trailed away a little bit in the second half. Speaking to Nikita before the game, she'd been a little bit crook during the week, and I reckon that probably showed in her fitness in the second half. She had a good last quarter, and was certainly very impressive.
Yeah, one of the other key points to come out of that game was the injury to the current league best and fairest in Women's Cup, Eliza Hand. She has come off with what we thought was a dislocation, but from what we saw after the game, it looked like a pretty good break. I'm wondering whether she spends a couple of weeks off and then comes back in the finals and tries to nurse the injury back, not needing to do any more, I guess. They're already a game clear of Cardiff and 2 games clear of City. So I don't think there's a great deal of danger for the Killarney Vale girls to lose top spot this season. I feel like it's theirs to lose now with a couple of games to go, although they do need to negotiate Cardiff on the weekend. But once they've negotiated Cardiff, they do have Terrigal Avoca. And then
City the following week again. It's an interesting concept. Because, you can't throw away if you throw away 2 of those games and you're only 2 games ahead of City and you throw 1 away to City and they've got some easier games in between, gee whiz, it could really be the difference between position 1 and position 3, couldn't it? Oh, you're on mute there, mate.
Sorry, mate, I muted myself. Try to do so and I'm clicking around the place. But if you do risk Eliza Hand in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you risk it getting worse. I don't know a lot about finger injuries. I've never really had one in my time umpiring or playing sport, so I couldn't tell you what that's like. But gee, she's a big player to miss. But they did well without her also, I believe.
They've beaten City effectively without her because she was only on the ground for the first 2 or 3 minutes. So it's not like they played 3 quarters and then she went off. They didn't have her almost from the very first bounce. It was, it was a long time without her. So if it was me, I'd give her a couple of weeks off and let the finger rest, subject to what the doctor says. Maybe you get away with strapping it and you get lucky or whatever. Time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Might put that one in the bank, that game, and move on to the rest of the games for a round. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon you're right. You were keeping us updated with some scores from down the road at Hilton Moor was the Terrigal Avoca Cardiff game. And, well, I think the progress scores, I don't know whether we ended up getting a final there, but it was a pretty one-sided affair in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big win to Cardiff in the end. 14-10, 94 to 2 behinds. And they kicked 5 in the first half and 9 in the second, Cardiff, and that makes them very dangerous coming into the next few weeks. Really good to see a 16/17-year-old Madison Marsh, or Maddie Marsh as I know her, formerly of Port Stephens, had played in an under-17s premiership with Singleton a couple of years ago, and she is also a Sydney Swans representative Coates League player. She's very good, very tall, and has learned how to use her body. She kicked 4 goals on the weekend, so that's very impressive for her. We also have a couple of additional goal kickers there in Elise Lynch and a lot of singles, and one of them also belonged to Sav Newton. So Bonnie Swan in the best, and Charlotte Day, the usual suspects for for the Cardiff side, and for Terrigal, Katrin Donnelly and Sydney Boonstra, they're generally your key players for the Panthers. They seem to have missed Charlotte Lockett's on the list here. She actually played her 50th game on the weekend, so that's a really nice milestone for her.
Yeah, for sure. Then down the road at the Entrance Batter Bay, the Entrance Batter Bay were hosting Maitland Saints, 7-7-49 Entrance Batter Bay to 2 behinds Maitland Saints. I would have thought maybe that probably went the way I thought it would go, but I thought it would have been a little bit closer. What about yourself?
Yeah, you just seem to think that Maitland could have held a little bit more of their own, but they just looked like they were very much outclassed too. It was a close game at quarter time, but after that, the Entrance Batter Bay kicked 3 goals in the second quarter and 3 in the third, and it pretty much sewed the game up for them. And Imogen Gray got a few goals, got 3 goals for the winners, and a few really good starts there to Molly Jackson, Charlotte Lane, and Olivia Hemming also. So it's good to see the mix, and great to see Bella Brandon back for Maitland, but one player doesn't make it the team, and you've got to have people around you. So there's a couple of usual suspects in the Maitland best, a couple of rep players in Leowana O'Donoghue and Skylar Dunn in there as well.
Well, you talk about players coming back. I can just see down the bottom of our staging screen there, we've got one of our big players coming back in. Good evening, Corey Hopper.
Good
How
evening,
are you?
lads.
How you going, Chop?
How are you? Am I allowed to do this thing on the fly?
Well, it looks like you're going to anyway.
We've been on the fly for a while, mate.
I am,
and then we'll let Corey get himself in and get himself settled. But then the last game was at Warners Bay.
Got completely lost cleaning up after doing some tiling. So
no, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We'll
how
let
I
you
get you guys, I don't know.
That's it. We're unforgettable. We'll let you get settled in. We're just about to wrap up the last game of the women's, which was down at Warners Bay, and the Warners Bay were hosting the Roosterettes 139 with Singleton getting up 3-6-24. So it was the Roosterettes versus, well, I want to call them the Poochettes because I love that name from the other day when we had the rep carnival. But I don't think the Warners Day Bulldogs. I'll go with the Poochettes because I think that was a pretty cool name. But Roosters getting the chocolates there.
Yeah, look, Singleton too good on this occasion. They've knocked on the door a lot this season, but they've just not had the firepower to do so. They came up against a team that they could realistically knock off, and they've done so. Good to see Jasmine Wellings in the best for Warners Bay. Lisa Cochrane. Jazzy Wellings, the medal winner from the rep. Chloe Jones and Molly Thomas and Faith Radmacher, key figures in the trilogy of premierships for the Singleton junior side that went through and pretty much did it undefeated for 3 years. So it's good to see the youngsters getting involved as well.
Indeed. And Corey, does that lock away our top 6 now for the women?
I think so, yeah. I don't think there's mathematical chance even now, is there? For those sides,
no,
so
I reckon. Looking at the ladder, that's it. It's done and dusted.
Yeah, it's a real shame. There's a couple of players in the 2 sides that are going to miss out. There certainly finals worthy quality in terms of the players. But look, that's what that section of that competition is all about. There's the emerging sides that are at the bottom half of that table. So they'll get their shot again next year, I'm sure. And the good thing is all of those sides showed a marked improvement from the start of the season to the end of it. So it's all heading in the right direction for women's footy, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed it is. Indeed it is. Now, Corey, I don't know whether you can add in your streaming little widget thing there to get us online oh, he's gone. He was there and he's disappeared. Whilst we go over to the men's, we didn't get probably as close a game in the men's game than we did the women. Actually, I thought at quarter time, there was only 1 or 2 points in it, and we saw, what was potentially going to be a bag from Brandon Lloyd with 3 goals to finish off the quarter. Got us pretty close at quarter time, but it ended up being a bit of a blowout there, didn't it? With City running over the top of Killarney Vale from that point onwards.
Oh, look, the game was interesting if I'm being honest, and this is definitely not downplaying what we witnessed by Newcastle City, but the game was interesting for about 10 minutes when Brandon Lloyd kicked 3 goals in a space of 10 minutes to bring the margin back to a point at quarter time. Realistically, 2-7 Newcastle City, Shane, they could have put the game to bed in the first quarter. They ran away with it in the second quarter and then just made very light work of an under-strength Killarney Vale in that second half to win it by 89 points. And if you're looking at a margin pre-match, you would have thought 10 goals, but City they were dominant. They looked good doing it too, didn't they? Some of the passages of play that they put in were just fantastic to watch. Down the ground without even, Killarney Vale touching the footy.
And if you're not following Borgie the broadcaster on Instagram, get on it and follow Ash's page there, because you did post that beautiful end-to-end goal that was from a mark in the goal square at the defensive end right the way through to the goal the opposite end. It was a brilliant bit of play, and we saw that all throughout the day. It was a dominant day from Newcastle City. They really did look the goods. I know we've missed seeing them. We haven't seen them. I think it was Anzac Day. It was the last time we've seen them on the coverage. And so I think, amongst the three of us, we were probably a little bit, in the dark about how they looked and how they played, but they were certainly very dominant against Killarney Vale. They really were, quite fantastic to watch. And that felt as though, some of the bigger names, we didn't have the big Pong playing. I thought Mitch Crawford was pretty quiet, but not that he needed to be on the weekend. So even with some of their big names either not playing or not firing, they still had an 89-point win, and they kept Killarney Vale scoreless for 3/4 of the game after those 3 goals from Brandon Lloyd. Didn't get another score for the rest of the game from Newcastle, from Killarney Vale.
No, that's right, mate. You can have the leading goal kicker up the one end, and it was a wonderful performance by Brendan Lloyd for 10 minutes. But he's got to have people around him to help him kick the goals, and unfortunately, he just couldn't get it done. It's nothing on him. He did his part, but unfortunately, his teammates around him understrength, outgunned, and outclassed for so much of that football match. I think I've just got Brandon Lloyd joining me on the Instagram page there. Good on you, Lloydie. Good to see you, mate. And good effort on the weekend, champ.
Yeah, and I mean, Luke Flack had I thought a great game. He was getting plenty of the ball, more's the pity. It was heading down there a lot. He was strong out of their back line, but just not enough around the ground on the weekend for Killarney Vale to get there. Down the other end of the grounds, there was some interesting goal kicking, or should we say goal missing, because there was what was it, up 15-17, and of those 17, there was obviously a few rush behinds and whatever else, but there was a lot of set shots that could have been converted, so the margin could have been bigger. So that was probably the point I think Mitch Crawford would be taking away with the group, and maybe getting him to do a few extra shots at goal this weekend, because it felt like that did let them down a little bit. The big tractor Jordan Deere, got the 3 in the end, but those 3 only came in the last quarter after, what did we work out, 5 or 6 behinds or something along the way. So
yeah, I thought it was at least 5 or 6, but a couple of really standout performances for the Blues. Josh Taylor, if he's not in Elliot Davey medal contention, and I wasn't watching the same game on the weekend, he was so good on Saturday. I've heard about his terrific performances by some of the City boys after the game. Joseph O'Donoghue played a great role. Woodhams is starting to come back after some major surgery for him. Huey Blanchfield, if you look at the footage really closely, as I did on the Sunday, anything good that Newcastle City did, Hugh Blanchfield in the 7 was either hand passing it off to someone or shepherding for someone or in the vicinity. He really played what I would deem to be the silent assassin role, because he was in the background for everything that was good. And, Ruben Miller, who just seems to get better every week, every time he plays, he seems to make a difference. And he was only playing shield footy last year, or plate footy last year. And he's doing very well in cup footy this year. And I guess he's loving playing with his brother Joey. Yeah,
for sure. We're going to get another chance to look at Newcastle City this coming weekend. We'll talk about the upcoming games, but the challenge against Terrigal Avoca will probably be a little different to what they saw on the weekend. The other games from the weekend. If I quickly update my sheet. Now, going into the on the grill last week, you sent me a message. You weren't able to join, but you gave the tip, and I want to call it out because you were the first to do so, and we all jumped on the bandwagon, but it was your tip to start with, mate. You said the Entrance Batter Bay were probably primed to get a second win for the year, just given the injuries to the Maitland Saints. Poor old Dusty's got bugger all of a squad to pick from, and you felt that the Entrance Batter Bay might be ready to take advantage of that. They did 11-8, 74 to 7-13, 55. What have you heard from the report on that one?
Not a lot, if I'm being honest, but the Entrance Batter Bay, if you're looking at the quarter time, half-time breakdown, if you're looking at all the breakdown, they were even at quarter time. It was only a 2-point lead to Batter Bay over Maitland, but after quarter time, it was pretty much the Entrance Batter Bay, with the exception of Maitland outscoring them in the third quarter. They were never really headed after quarter time, and looked like a comfortable victory in the end, but Maitland's kicking might have been their nemesis, being 7-13 against 11 goals 8 in the end. So it was 20 scoring shots to 19 against the winners, but they managed to hold on.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you got to kick them straight, and Newcastle City had the same problem. Maybe was it windy on Saturday? I don't know. Maybe it was a bit of windy around.
Yeah, it might have been, but yeah, good to see the young fella back for Maitland, Rywan Knock, who was a former Singleton local and Singleton junior. So it's great to see him play and get 3 goals also. And the skipper, Riley Newstead, got a couple from Maitland for the Entrance Batter Bay. Singleton got 3 goals. Big Taff Lewis and Scott Reed in the right place at the right time. It's they got themselves a double each. And yeah, I reckon the celebrations would have been wild at Passage Road. Wondering if Chop might have got back there for a bit, but the Entrance Batter Bay, they work hard, as all the teams do in first grade, and they were due, and that pretty much all I can say is they were due, and they took Maitland at the right time.
Yep, they did, and here he's back again.
I wonder if there's ever going to be a week where I don't mess things up with kind of technical hiccup. I don't know. Probably not.
I doubt it, Chop. I doubt it. But
No.
we know and love that from you. Now, actually, you had some spies down at Hilton Moor, I believe, on the weekend. We were getting some pretty regular scores. What happened between Terrigal Avoca and Cardiff Hawks on the weekend?
Yeah, epic game. Absolutely huge, apparently. It was neck and neck for most of the game, and then the Terrigal Panthers were up by, I think, about might have been nearly a couple of goals at the end, and I think they kicked 2 quick goals, the Cardiff, to just get there in front and pip them in the end by 2 points. So it was a bit of an epic game, and certainly shuffled the top 4 around a little bit with that result. So big shout out to a game where both teams only kicked 8 goals all up, but they had a bag in each team. Can you believe that? We didn't see it.
Wow.
So Jake Hansen kicked 5 and Justin Dorr kicked 5 each for their respective clubs, Cardiff and Terrigal Avoca, which is a massive effort. But 10 goals are usually, you need at least 10 goals to win a game. They won it on 8, but by 2 points. So those two sides very evenly matched, and just salivating to see the finals between these teams. That's for sure.
Yeah, Ash, what did you hear from the
mate,
ground?
I find it absolutely incredible, fellas, that in a game with 16 goals, two blokes managed to kick 5 each.
Yeah,
that's incredible between Jake Hansen and Justin Dorr. What a sensational performance from both of them. Funnily enough, both got best player for their team according to AFL Play AFL. So yeah, absolutely, 5 goals each in an 8-goal game.
Jake Hansen giving the Jake the Snake Hansen, a young superstar. Had the pleasure of sort of watching him develop through juniors, and he's been a very likely champion for a while. He's sort of emerging and giving that top 5 or 6 a bit of a nudge in the Goolagong Trophy run too. So it'll be very exciting to see how he finishes up the year with big bumper clash coming up this weekend for Terrigal Panthers.
Yeah, and Cade McNamara getting in the best again, Chop. You get much intel on him, mate, because he's had a ripping second half of the year.
Look, he's a weapon. I think he's just probably just finding that top tier footy here. It really suits him and the way that he plays, and he's probably building a little bit of confidence and stuff through the work he's done with Swans Academy. But yeah, he's going to be a star in the finals. I don't think he's even come close to his pinnacle yet. So how long he stays here for, who knows? But certainly Terrigal Avoca will be benefiting from him. And one other little thing, mate. Speaking of champions, a certain Elliot Davey medalist found his way into the lineup for the Terrigal Avoca Panthers, funnily enough, with just enough games to qualify for finals. So Mitchell Price emerged from a little hiatus through the course of the year. I think we always knew it was looming. I think anybody in the know probably knew it was probably going to happen for finals time, and especially with Terrigal sort of not having as many goal kickers as the other finalists, I think, as far as, the spread of people who can kick reliable goals. Newcastle City, Cardiff and Warners Bay have all got them. Terrigal probably need a couple more in the grand scheme of things, and they certainly got a massive one in Mitch Price coming back. So that's a bit of a warning sign for the other teams in the finals, I think.
Yeah, someone else to mark now. It's he's a dangerous man, Mitch, and feed him the ball up high, and he's very, very tough to beat.
Well, his ruck support for Adam Miller, which is something that's also needed, and he kicked 7 in the one appearance that he had this year. I can't remember who that was up. I think that might have been the entrance Batto Bay. So probably a timely game just to get that first one in, and then put him on ice until the last 3 matches so we can qualify him just in time. So I dare say we'll see him in action this weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Now, looking to this weekend, we'll look at the games ahead. Starting with the women, Killarney Vale stepped out of the fireplace against City. Are they going into the fire against Cardiff? They are hosting Cardiff down at Adelaide Street Oval. So that is a big test for them. They've got a team that beat them back 4 or 5 weeks ago. They then get a bit of a softer game the week after before fronting up to City for that final round. So Killarney Vale, the quality team, but getting a real hit out into the finals. What are you thinking about that game? Have Cardiff got the ability to go back to back and beat Killarney Vale twice in a row on Adelaide Street Oval, or are the hometown heroes going to get the chocolates there?
Well, you want to go first to this one, Ash? There's lots to say.
Yeah, why not, mate? Look, they've lost Eliza Hand unless she does something miraculous with that finger. She won't be playing. She shouldn't be playing this weekend. I'll say that. I don't know what her tolerance to pain is.
They've only lost Eliza's hand, not Eliza's hand in full. So the rest of the body is fine. It's the hand she's got trouble with.
She's lost the finger. She's struggling from what I've been sort of told. But if she can get back and play, that's a handy bonus for them. Cardiff, they're very balanced across the field. I think in the women's division they have some terrific players in Bonnie Swan, Charlotte Day, Sab Newton, Maddie Smith, and now Maddie Marsh, who's starting to come into her own, kicking goals up forward. They're dangerous, and we can easily and comfortably. The safe prediction is that Newcastle City and Killarney Vale will match up in a grand final at the end of the year. But if there's one team that's going to be able to have a say in it, and a genuine say, it's Cardiff. On Saturday, I think Killarney Vale will get the chocolates, but they'll be looking over their shoulder the entire 80 minutes. I can guarantee you of that.
Yeah, it's going to be another bumper clash, and a couple of good ones for Killarney Vale to have as they lead into the finals. I think they may have had their little mid-season slump where they just went a little quiet, and that's when they did get done against Cardiff. Cardiff's certainly capable of beating Killarney Vale, but this means an awful lot to those these Killarney Vale girls. They've gotten what do they call it? Is it the bridesmaid? Is that what you call it when you come second? The bridesmaid or something? Yeah, they've been that at the big dance a couple of times now, and after scintillating season. So it's gonna be really important to them to string these couple of wins together and really cement their position going into the finals. So there was a close game against Newcastle City, and it was very, very evenly matched. But I thought there was just a few extra spokes in the wheel for Killarney Vale, which was able to sort of get them over the line in the end. And I didn't get a chance to talk about the Killarney Vale Newcastle game, but I think that'll be a step forward. It was a real grind, that game, but I think this will be a little more open and flowing.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I'm going to stick with Killarney Vale on their home deck. I don't think they'll lose twice in a season to the same team down there. They're too good a side. They play that over well, and I think they'll get up by a couple of goals. It won't be a huge margin, that's for sure, but I think Killarney Vale over Cardiff for my tip.
Just impressed with Sasha Edwards' game for Killarney Vale last week. She, of course, won our Bar Raiser Award. You guys probably mentioned that earlier, but I think she's just another great player really coming into the fray and play, performing at that level. So I think, they might have a few too many of them.
Well, listen, I'm just moving on to the next game, and something has just struck me as being a little bit strange. That, of course, is the top of the table clash. Killarney Vale and Cardiff are actually sitting 1 and 2 at the moment. Sitting in 3 and 4, those two teams play each other. Newcastle City played Terrigal Avoca. The teams in 5th and 6th are playing each other. So the entrance Bateau Bay are playing Singleton, and the teams in 7th and 8th are playing each other. So we are quality games of evenly matched teams right down the list. Now, when I say evenly matched, possibly the 3rd versus 4th may not go that way. I think the Newcastle City women hosting Terrigal Avoca 3 p.m. live and exclusive on Bar TV. I think we can probably chalk Newcastle City down as pretty close favourites in that one. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on that game before we get a quick review on the other two?
It's a bit like week 1 of the finals, isn't it?
It is in a way, yeah.
Coming up against each other. So that's going to be an interesting lineup, how that washes up. But, I think Newcastle City will beat Terrigal Avoca comfortably. They, especially coming off a loss, I think they're going to, want to get themselves back into that winner's circle pretty quick. And they just, we saw how close they were against Killarney Vale. Those three, you can, a hair separates them really, the top 3. And then there's a bit of a distance between them and Terrigal Avoca, but they're emerging. They'll probably go an extra week into the finals. I imagine Terrigal Avoca. I don't know exactly how the layout goes, but I don't know if they're going to go too much further than that. But that's still a stellar job for the Panthers, given new coach, quite a big turnover in playing personnel too. So that they've had a good year, any way you look at it.
Yeah, and Ashley, can you make a case for Terrigal Avoca, or are you thinking Newcastle City? Oh, just on mute there, mate.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you, boy.
Sorry, boys. Yeah, I keep muting myself. I don't usually do it, but I've been doing it tonight. Yeah, look, I think Newcastle City.
It's my gremlin jump.
Newcastle City will be looking to make a statement on Saturday, and I think the Panthers will be the sacrificial lamb that'll go to the slaughter. I think it'll be 10 goals plus.
Now, one team you have had a fair bit of involvement with over the years is Singleton. They are down at Bateau Bay against the entrance Bateau Bay. Now, Singleton are coming good at the right time of the year from what I'm seeing. They've sort of leapfrogged the entrance Bateau Bay up into 5th place. What do you think about that game, Ashley?
Look, not overly confident in a Singleton win, but gee, they've got some talent. They've got some great young talent. And as Chop will definitely agree, when you got young talent, they have 1 or 2 good games and then they'll fall out for a couple. It's just the nature of the beast with younger players. Will they do it this week? I think the entrance Bateau Bay will really steel themselves for a psychological advantage before the finals, because the way the finals are set up, they actually won't play each other. But what it'll do is put them in 5th spot. And if they can take 5th spot, what they'll end up doing is playing against 4th place. And I'd rather bank on playing Terrigal than playing Cardiff or Newcastle if I'm Singleton or Warners Bay. You could get the upset win on a good day against Terrigal. I don't think you'll get it on Cardiff or Newcastle. So, look, I think the entrance by under 2 goals.
Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, where is it again, Shane? It's
down at Bateau Bay.
Yeah. I think they'll get that. They're rolling at the minute. They had a good win last week, didn't they? The entrance Bateau Bay. The whole club had a really good club day, as it turned out, with wins to the senior men's and women's. And I think they're such a plucky side, the entrance Bateau Bay. They are really happy, chirpy. Hallie Beckett does a great job with the women's program over there. So I reckon, they will. I think they are the true fifth position side, even though Singleton's in it at the moment. And like I say, that trip from Singleton, whether you're going out to Singleton or Singleton's coming down to the Central Coast, it's a 3-goal advantage, I think, one way or the other to either side. So that doesn't mean necessarily you're going to win because, you're still going to be the better side on the day. But I think it will count on this particular trip. But in saying that, there's some good players in the Singleton lineup. So, they've finished strong too, the Singleton Roosters girls. So you can't count them out. I think Ash is pretty close to the money on that. I'll say 18, maybe, 15 points, maybe.
Well, I've had a soft spot for the Entrance Bateau Bay all year. I've loved what they've done in their first year in Black Diamond Cup. So I'm going to take them as well. I think it's going to be pretty close. I'm going to go by 7 points for that one. Final match of the women's round is sorry.
Did you mention Caitlin Holcomb, who's still yet to come back to the Newcastle City side? I don't know if she's back this week, but she's out for a couple of weeks with a neck injury because she was fighting a gladiator or something.
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about that, but yeah, that will be interesting. We then have a 7th versus 8, Saints versus Warners Bay, out at Max McMahon. I think both sides, have shown some good points through the year. You're probably lacking those few class players that get you the extra couple of wins, and the Saints also battling some injuries as well. Flip of the coin for me on that one. I'm probably going to go Warners Bay just because Jazz Wellings and Amy Pittman have been in such good form. I think they might be able to carry their team over the line. Them by 13 points for myself. Ashley, where are you sitting?
Look, Maitland did it last time. There's no reason why they can't do it again. I'll tip them by 10 points.
And Corey.
A few representative players in both of those teams. I think a couple more from the Maitland side, isn't there? All up, maybe. Yeah, close one. This one's purely for bragging rights, isn't it? And who got the most wins. So I think nice little rivalry building between those two sides. Purely because I got to talk with Jasmine Wellings and she's just a gun of a person, I'm going to go with and Amy Pittman also said something nice about the Bar Raiser Award going her way too this week. So I'm going to go with the Warners Bay Bulldogs by 12 points.
There we go. That wraps up a very exciting weekend of Black Diamond Cup Women's because it is, like I say, 1v2, 3v4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. Over in the men's, we are heading over to Newcastle #1 Sportsground. In fact, you can have a sleep-in chop on the weekend because we're 3 o'clock for the women's game, and then the men's game is at 5 p.m. And it is another tantalising clash.
Don't say that, Shane. That's just tempting me to be late, or just something will go wrong.
Well, Ashley's got the week off from HCC. He's down in the big smoke cooling down there, and while I'm thinking about it, a shout out to young Ollie Croft, who's our broadcast junior. He is umpiring the City versus Terrigal Avoca women's game at 3 o'clock, and from what I hear, he'll be out in the field. So. Bit of a step up for the young fella, and congratulations, Ollie. Fantastic to see. He's going to come up and have a chat with us and call the men's game afterwards, Chop, but it'll be just you and me there for the women, so you can't sleep in too long.
Is Ollie doing field?
I believe that's what the roster says at this point in time. So
let's put a GoPro on him.
Well, maybe we could get him mic'd up for a hot cam. But in the men's game, we are watching City versus Terrigal Avoca. That is a top of the table clash, maybe not 1v2 at the moment because they're so variable with the match ratio and whatever else. But these are two of the top 3 teams, no matter how you slice or dice it. Terrigal coming off a very narrow loss, City coming off a massive win. Corey, first, what excites you about this game?
Everything excites me about this one. I'm so thrilled getting to see all of those players, Jordan Deere, I'm excited to possibly see him kick goals all the way through the game, not just in the last quarter. I'm excited to see Adam Miller just burst out and have a massive day in the ruck and come up against the big bear in Max Quinlan and Damien Major for that matter. Woody's starting to kick some goals. We've got Jake Hansen kicking a bag last week. We get to see Jaden Morgan. It's going to be wicked. There's so many great players. Josh Taylor, Bar Raiser last week. There's so many good players, and I'm very close with a lot of them in the Terrigal lineup, but I feel like I'm good friends with a lot of them in the Newcastle City team as well. And these two sides, neither of them can afford to drop it because it may cost them the double chance in finals. So we're at number 1 Sportsground, which I love where we sit there. I love watching the game from there. It has just got everything you want in a match between these two powerhouses who've come together so many times in the last decade and always produced like epic games. The grand final they played last year was decided by 9 points, and here they are again, just weeks out from it, edging towards, they're sharing that top mantle with 2 other equally good sides this year, which is so good for finals. But this is so important. It's always a bit of a grudge match. We'll see master tacticians coaching them and, trying to pinpoint ways through their defences. We're going to see probably big scores again, and be a little less than what it was last week where we only saw Brandon Lloyd kicking goals in the opposition. But this week, we're going to see a spread from both teams. And I can't wait. This is one I've been looking forward to it for so long.
What do you think, Ash?
Mate, stars all over the park at our level. When you start with the coaches, and they're going to both be on the field. That's going to be a chess match in itself, what they do while they're out there. You've got blokes, guy Jack Grimm and Lee, former Elliot Davey medalists, and you've just got a plethora of champion footballers in this region who will absolutely light up number 1 Sportsground on the weekend. I'm interested to see how Caden McNamara goes against this opposition. If this will be the testing material for him. He plays a good game against Newcastle City. Watch him fly in finals. You got the Carney boys. Mitch Price is back in town, and who can forget? I think he's the best defender in the competition. The Great Wall of Birkinshaw. So he'll be someone that's going to be very tough to beat in the back line. And then when you're looking at Newcastle City, you got Blanchfield and Taylor, Mitch Crawford, who I thought was a bit quiet last week, and that's nothing against Mitch. It was probably just the game it was. You got high flyers at the back like Noah McDonald. You got guys that could just do it at both ends of the field. O'Donoghue and Maxi Quinlan. I reckon it's his time to have a really big game this weekend. Yeah, it's a tough game to tip, but you guys are the luckiest guys going around because you guys get to sit in the grandstand with the bar TV cameras and a microphone and call a terrific game. For mine, I think Newcastle City at home, they're always very dangerous on number 1, which makes them my favourite or my pick for the game. I think they'll do it by 2 goals, and really would love to see the Elliot Davey medalists go absolutely berserk this weekend.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's a few. There are 3 on the field. It's crazy. Mitch Price. Medalists. Yeah, Mitch Price, Jack Grimm and Lee, Mitch Crawford. It's just such a good game, like so tantalising.
Plus the New South Wales Country Footballer of the Year in Adam Miller. But the 2023 Rising Star in Josh Taylor. Like it is dead set the accolades, and there's probably more that I'm missing as well.
Mate,
there'd be a few goal kicking medals as well there potentially too.
Mitch won a goal kicking medal. It's just such a terrific contest in store. It's if you're not able to get to the ground and you're watching this, get on Bar TV at 5 p.m. because it's going to light up. It will be fantastic. I'll be listening on the drive home. I know that much.
I'm going to have like 4 or 5 bottles of red cordial before I do the call, so that I'm just up and about and just absolutely smoking it. There's going to be so much excitement up there. I could fall off the grandstand.
All right, I'll keep an eye on you, Corey, and maybe one arm on the jumper to hold you back in case you get too excited.
Good actually.
Harness.
I'm hopping at the seams for this one. My tip, I think Newcastle will win this one as well. Terrigal couldn't get up. The one thing that has worried me about Terrigal, and we didn't get to see them all year, has been their ability to kick a big score and their spread of goal kickers. And that's probably the thing that's, we haven't been able to see it most of the year. We've only seen this only be the 3rd time we see him on Bar TV. And with the obvious inclusion of Mitch Price, it's pretty clear that the Panthers themselves know that could be a bit of a shaky ground, albeit Jake Hansen kicked his bag this time, and Jaden Morgan kicked a bag a couple of weeks ago. So they've got individuals that can kick big goals. So that's going to have to work really well for them, but their supply is going to have to be really good too. And if they couldn't get up against Cardiff at home, I don't think they'll be able to get up against Newcastle City away. And that could very well cost the Panthers double chance. And it'll be very hard for them to win if they don't secure that. A couple of weeks ago, I thought they might have had the top spot in the bag. So, but they've got one extra game up their sleeve too. So
they do indeed. Listen, I'm going to take Newcastle City. I think the game will be decided by the bottom 8 players. I think both sides have 14 absolute guns. I think players 15 to 22 are going to be where the game's decided. I think maybe Newcastle have the edge there, given the strength of the club right through with the two plate teams. So I think that maybe they've got that little bit more depth in that 15 to 22 spot. I'm going to take Newcastle. Heading up the road to Max McMahon, the Saints are hosting Warners Bay. Warners Bay are coming off a break. They've had the bye. Of course, the weekend before was the rep games. They've effectively had 2 weeks off now, the Bulldogs. They're up against an injury-ravaged Saints who are, effectively struggling to get a team out on the park. Ashley, can you give us any hope for the Saints, or is this all one-way traffic?
Look, they got Rowan knocked back last week. Surely they've got a couple more left in store. Dusty's got some tricks up his sleeve, and I'm sure they'll be able to bring a few guys back. Newstead and Howard and Sam Jordan. They've got some terrific players, but the injuries they're just mounting, aren't they? And it's too big a mountain. I know they're at home and they'll really fight. I think it'll be one of those days where they put everything on the line for the jumper. Warners Bay are polishing up for finals, and they can't drop this game. They drop this game, the confidence will go down. Harkness will have to go back to the drawing board somewhat. I can only just see one winner, and that's Warners Bay by about 6 goals.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's a mental issue now at this stage of the year. There's only two games left, or 3 games left for Maitland Saints. They are ravaged by injuries. They already know the season's kind of done. That doesn't mean that they won't play their hearts out. They'll still give everything. Is Inglis back? I don't know. They haven't released the sides yet, so we won't see the sides till tomorrow. Ryland not kicked a bag last week. Did you know that? I think he kicked 5 last week. And Newstead kicked a couple as well. I think that's right. I'll double check that. I had a chat with Andy Baldwin on Monday night, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. Either way, I think he kicked at least 4, so one way or the other. So, they're not without hope, but exactly as Ash said, Warners Bay are on fire. This is one of the best Warners Bay sides I reckon I can remember seeing in the last 22 or 3 years of Black Diamond Cup football. And they're gearing up. They've had a rest. They're fresh. They've got a bunch of representative football stars that are in that lineup. They've got plenty of depth. No, they're going to show us a little bit what we can expect in the finals, I think, from them. And I've got high hopes for the Warners Bay Bulldogs. I think they can go all the way this year and turn the whole competition on its head, because we haven't seen anyone sort of further down the list end up in a grand final for a long, long time. So I reckon we'll see that this year. I really do. Yeah. So I reckon it could be better than 10. It could be better than 10 goals.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're a bit generous with your margin there, Ash. 6 goals to me seems a little bit light on. I think Warners Bay will absolutely monster them. We've talked about a heap of players. I don't think we've mentioned the Big Dig. I don't think we've mentioned Jay Harrison. They've got stars all over the park. I think they'll have a good day out, and Nathan will be getting them primed to finish strongly and go all the way. So I think it's probably going to be one-way traffic.
What would
for
happen?
Us there.
Gordon will get 95 possessions again, because I think he's one of the most prolific ball getters in the competition right now. He's a dead set weapon. Wherever the ball is, he's going to be somewhere close to it. So really enjoying his season. He have to be this year. I reckon there's players in the bottom 3 sides that will be pushing for Elliot Davey medal wins. I reckon there's a couple of guys in Kalani Vale and Maitland and even the entrance Paddo Bay that I reckon would have pinched a few votes through the course of the year.
Yeah, and it may just depend on margins too. Sometimes it's hard for the umpies to give a vote to a team that gets done by 100 points. Sometimes it works in their favour. Their one shining light might pick up 1 or 2. but we'll see how that all pans out. Then the final game of the week is Killarney Vale at home on Adelaide Street Oval, hosting the almighty Cardiff Hawks. Once again, on paper, for my mind, this one seems a little bit one-sided. I think Cardiff are certainly showing a lot more. Corey, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, look, like we said on the last one, we're 2 weeks out from finals. Cardiff are sitting on top of the ladder. They beat Terrigal Avoca to pinch that top spot. They're on fire. They've got runners. They're brilliant on the rebound. And we're like Killarney Vale can be good on the rebound, but that so much of it's relying upon Luke Flack to be able to do that. They had I think 3 debutants, Killarney Vale, and I think they've played something like 6 games each of footy, not of first grade footy or reserve. They've played 6 games of footy in their life, so they're absolutely strafed as well as far as their depth of players go. Killarney Vale, they might get a couple back this week. I'm not too sure where the list is at. So again, it's similar to what we're seeing with Warners Bay and Maitland. Cardiff are going to win it. They're going to win it comfortably. Killarney Vale will play their hearts out, but their season's done, so they're sort of at that stage. These are more training runs for these top 4 sides, I think, and that's taking no disrespect to the sides that aren't playing finals. It's just the nature of the beast at this time of year. So, yeah, so you can expect a lot of running, a lot of rebound scoring from Cardiff, and probably a lot of putting what we're going to see from them in the finals on display.
Yeah, and Ash, we saw on the weekend just gone, Brandon Lloyd was up against a couple of the Goolagong Trophy contenders, and he kicked 3 and sort of kept his neck above water. This week he's up against Max King and of course Billy Towers. Can Brandon Lloyd hold it for another week, or do you expect big things from Towers and King?
Is that me or was that to me?
No, that was Ash. Over to you.
Oh yeah. Look, fellas, it's going to be very difficult for Lloydie this week. He's a few goals in front. He's got a good 4 or 5 goal lead on Max King and Billy Towers. Does he hold on to it? Depends on how his midfield go, because if his midfield can't get the ball and rebound it, they're going to be peppering the goals. Cardiff. I can only see one winner. I think the 2 of you have made that pretty clear that it's Cardiff. You got guys like Tahi Brain and Flanagan. McNamara, Booth, Lashley, they are going to have a field day on Saturday. I'm afraid if you're a Killarney Vale fan, it's just your boys are very much outmanned and outgunned. They are waiting till the end of the season, but at home they're going to make Cardiff work for it. They're going to give it everything they've got. We know that Shaq has a never say die attitude, and we really wish the Bombers the best on the weekend, but my goodness, I couldn't even predict the margin in this game. I think Max King and Billy Towers will have a big day out.
Billy Towers played in the midfield last week, so that's why he didn't kick any goals.
Yeah, right. There you go. And I think probably that's just trying a guy out just to see how he performs in different games. You never know. You might see Max King in the back half, in the centre half back or something on the weekend. They just rotate around, just have different opportunities to play in different spots. But yeah, on an absolute tip, it'll be 10 goals, Cardiff.
And Lloydie kicked 3 goals in his side that only kicked 3 goals, so he played well and really seized his opportunities. So if he keeps playing like that, he did them all in the first quarter too, and then the ball barely came near him for the rest of it. If he seizes his opportunities, he didn't lose ground in that race for the Goolagong. He still stayed 3 above Jordan Deere.
Jordan Deere, that's right. Yep.
I thought it was funny that the 1 and 2, that of course Jordan Deere went out clear second place now. But the funny that Brandon Lloyd did in the opening quarter, kicked all his 3, and then we didn't see him kick any more. We couldn't see Jordan Deere kick one all game until the last quarter, and he kicked 3. So I thought that was a bookend to go 1 and 2 in the Goolagong Trophy race.
Yeah, he kicked straight. He kicked straight Jordan Deere on the weekend. He kicks 8 to 10. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the difference. Lloyd, he's a sensational set shot at goal, spoon man. I think he's terrific. He's a terrific footballer all around, and yeah, it's going to be a hard slog for them this weekend. really tough slog. I hope they give it everything they got, which they're going to do. And two, you just hope they don't have any more injuries or any more setbacks in terms of their bodies and, what they can produce for at least a couple more weeks. Just if they can get through the next few weeks, rest and recover, and hopefully we'll see the Kalani Vole Bombers that we were used to a couple of years ago, that their hard work and their recruitment and their coaching deserves, because the injuries they've copped are just unfair.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see Logan Mahallam back last week, though.
Yeah, it was great to see him play last week. They're great kids. They're great guys, those two.
And the big Mohican, Reece Simmons, as well. It was great to see him after 6 weeks off. Mate, didn't he fly too? He gets up. So he looks exciting. So we'll see.
And speaking of big outs for the weekend, my batteries were a big out on the weekend, and I did a big disservice to Shaq and yourself, Chop, with that interview at I think it was halftime in the women's, and we didn't hear a bloody word of, and we tried to get Shaq back on, and once again we didn't hear a word of there. So good news, boys. I've been out and I've bought extra sets of batteries. I'm loaded and ready for this weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to wish you all the best for this weekend. You are down to Sydney calling some of the Sydney games. We will miss you this week, mate. But have a good call down there. Corey, of course, you and I will be at number 1 Sportsground, 3 p.m. on Saturday for the Women's Cup, 5 p.m. for the Men's Cup. A couple of exciting games there. Gentlemen, any final comments before we wrap this thing up?
I've got one. Next Tuesday night, I've got a very special guest that I'm chatting with on the grill, and a lot of people, especially our vintage, will recognise Mr. Troy Luff from the Sydney Swans. He was a former Sydney Swans player and life member, 155 games. And I'm going to be lucky enough to have a chat with him, because after he finished his career as a professional footballer, he continued on at local footy level, and he's played his 300th game after his 155 games for the Sydney Swans. And that's not including all the ones he played before the Swans. And I'm not sure if anyone's aware of it, but he actually started in our region, in Nelson Bay. So he was a Nelson Bay Marlin before he went to the Sydney Swans. I'm going to be having a chat with him on a bit more gas on Tuesday night. And I'd love it if we got a massive viewership for that, because I'm going to see if we can't get him back to the Nelson Bay Marlins, so they definitely get into Cup next year. That's what it's all about.
On the recruitment drive, mate.
He could have up to 599 senior games of football by the end of this year. How good is that? This is a millennium man, and I'm going to find out the secret to it without one way or another. And I reckon, mate, the way he's going, he might have another 300. So maybe.
Yeah, he won a couple of Phelan medals, didn't he?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, 2 Phelan medals for the best and fairest in AFL Sydney first grade. Yeah, he's a sensational player, and it's great that he started in our region. Hey, like he was the first one to say, "Hey, we're gonna break the barrier and pave the way for so many others." And ironically enough, Chop, the second one was another Marlin in Craig Bird. So, it's just paved the way for people to believe that you can make it from where we are. So it's wonderful, and that'll be a great chat.
On that note, Ash, and that's why I can say that's why Nelson Bay have to get back in Cup and not go back down again, so that they can keep sending players like that up to the AFL. They've had 2 so far, and then you're not giving them the opportunity they need if you're just playing in you're playing for cheap premierships in second grade. So get in Cup and develop those. You've got gun youngsters in there that are dominating the play competition at the moment. Next year, get back in Cup and stay there. And you never know, you'll have another Troy Luff or Craig Bird in no time. So I can't wait to chat to Luffy. He sounds like a great bloke. He's an awesome character of football, from an era when football was real football as well. So I'm really looking forward to having a chat with him. So join us on Tuesday night. Going to be a ripper.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you for joining us. Those that are watching from wherever you are in the world, those that are in the Newcastle region, get along to number 1 Sportsground. Under lights, we're going to be a 5 o'clock kickoff. We're going to have the second half of that game under lights. We've got the Panthers versus the Blues. I am salivating already for that one. Can't wait to bring it to you on Bar TV. Gentlemen, have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care. We'll catch you later.
Yeah, you too, guys. Have a great call Saturday, fellas.
Will do. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Ash.
And we did it under an hour.